Got it. Perfect. All right. Wonderful. So the way that we're planning on doing the session today is we will go ahead. Nicole and Evelyn created this like beautiful slide, PowerPoint slideshow, and we're just going to go. I'm going to ask them some questions. They're going to give answers. And then towards the end, like I said, after about 30 minutes or so, we'll go ahead and open the floor up to everyone, and it can be more of a conversation, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. To begin with, does anyone have any burning questions or anything before we get started? No. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, can folks see this? We're good?
Yes.
All right. So welcome to the BIPOC Aspiring Midwives Info session. We're going to ask some questions of Nicole and Evelyn. And the first question is, like, why midwifery? Tell me about your path to midwifery school. Evelyn, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I first was interested when I became a nurse. I was doing my prerequisites and I got pregnant. And during that time where I was doing my OB, getting my OB care, I was really interested in the care that I was receiving. I really loved it. And since I was going to be in nursing school, I was really paying attention. You know, this was my second child. The first one, I was a teen mom, so I wasn't really paying attention much at that time. But this time around, now it was 15 years later. My daughter's, my oldest was 15 already, and I'm 30 years old, and I'm really paying attention now. And I was really, really loving how the care that I was receiving by my midwife, and I was also working as an OB receptionist too. So I was also working in the clinic, and I really, really liked the whole ambiance of OB in the OB world. And so when I got into nursing school, that's something that was really in my heart to continue into OB. But, when you're in nursing school, you're not really sure what path you want to take until you actually go into those departments. But the OB world was the one that really stuck to me. And so when I was in school, I passed my NCLEX, and when I passed my NCLEX, the professor who I was going to school with, she was the one that had allowed me to go to California Hospital, where I did my preceptorship. And then when I passed, she said, we're doing, they're hiring for a new grad program in L&D. And so I went ahead and applied, and I got in. And so I was really fortunate to have to be in a new grad program as an L&D nurse. Mm-hmm. It was great.
Sharing. And Nicole, tell me about your path to midwifery or midwifery school.
So I'm the oldest of 6 kids. And so my second sibling, my sister, when I was 4, I was able to cut her umbilical cord. And then from then it just kind of like exploded. I wasn't even aware of midwifery as an option. I was on the path to become an OBGYN for the longest. So I went to undergrad at Tufts University and got dual degrees in biomedical engineering and women's studies with the plans on becoming an OBGYN. Kind of figured out that medical school wasn't really vibing with me, like physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, all of the E's. And so I started working in a hospital, discovered nurse practitioner as a career, discovered midwifery, etc. And then I'm here.
Wow. Thank you both for sharing that. I appreciate that. And then tell me, so you told us about like what brought you to midwifery school, but did both of you go to, Evelyn, did you go to nursing school before you started the midwifery program?
I went to Azusa Pacific University in the entry-level master's program. So yeah, I actually already had my bachelor's in computers. So I totally changed my career path. And I was supposed to continue on at Azusa Pacific to get my family FMP license, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to continue on. And so that's why I ended up wanting to do Cal State Fullerton.
Mm-hmm. And how long was the program at Azusa Pacific?
So the program that I was in, because it's an entry level, I had already done most of my other classes. So I was just really just doing the core classes. And so it took me 18 months of intense, intense work.
Mhm,
Yeah, at
mhm.
18 months.
Okay, yeah. Oof, accelerated nursing programs
Yeah,
are.
it was tough.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that. And Nicole, what about you? What was your nursing experience? Like what was your nursing school look like? And did you go to nursing school before midwifery school?
I did. So after Tufts, I started a master's program actually to be a marriage and family therapist at the University of Alabama. And funding issues kind of got in the way because I just knew med school wasn't for me. So I worked in the hospital as a patient care technician on a cardiac ICU floor for about 3 years, and then applied to an accelerated nursing program at the University of Pennsylvania. So I got my bachelor's of science in nursing in 18 months as well. So I feel your pain.
Yes, 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 yes. And at the end, we can have some more questions about you. Talk a little bit more about what it's like to become like to do an accelerated nursing program. And then Evelyn, you mentioned a little bit about your labor and delivery experience, but can you speak a little bit more to that? I know that you said you did a new grad program.
Yeah, so I started off at California Hospital in downtown LA. I did my new grad program for pretty much I was training for maybe 3 months, and then after that they threw me out there. But my hospital is very high risk, very busy hospital, high risk, and so I got a very, very, very good training at my hospital. When I first started, they said working 1 year here is working like 3 years anywhere else.
Mm,
But
mhm.
it was a great experience. I never really wanted to do med surge, so I was so happy that I got my dream job, which was the L&D right off the bat.
Okay. And so you did 3 months of the new grad program on labor and delivery, and then you've been working as a LND, or you've been an L&D nurse for 5 years. Is that correct?
Total, yes, yes.
And
Mhm.
Nicole, what about you? What about yourself?
So fresh out of nursing school, I was actually on the path to become a family nurse practitioner. So I did med surge, paid my dues for about a year and a half. It's a solid foundation, but we moved on to bigger and better things. I started working on the labor, delivery, recovery, and postpartum floor, so an LDRP floor. It was a great experience to see like all gamuts of like intrapartum care. Then from there, I went to an outpatient OBGYN clinic because I was interested in learning like what type of care is received to our patients from conception on to the grand finale. And then from there, I went to an OB triage unit. So it was like an emergency room for pregnant folks. It was a 12 bed unit, level 1 trauma hospital in the city of St. Louis, super fast paced. It really challenged my critical thinking and gave me the confidence to apply for the program.
Wow, wow, wow. And that you've been doing that so in OB for 4 years
OB
prior.
for 4 years, med search for like 1.5, so 5.5 years total as a nurse.
Okay.
And can I add to, as a labor and delivery nurse, you just reminded me, Nicole, that the first 2 years, they just want you in labor and delivery, just learning the basics. Then they start transferring you to like maybe antepartum to learn time management. Because antepartum is kind of, a little med surgery, a little. And then they allow you to do OB triage as well after 2 years.
Okay. All right. Thank you for adding that in. And did either of you have doula experience prior to becoming OB nurse, like working in OB or prior to applying to midwifery school? Evelyn?
So,
I never
oh,
did.
sorry.
Yeah, I never did. It would have been very helpful to. I encourage anybody who would have an opportunity to do that. I would do that. Go ahead.
My transition from med surge to like OB experience started with a local doula training. So there's a Black owned and Black ran doula like training company in St. Louis, actually in Ferguson, Missouri, which is not too far from St. Louis. So I went to that, and then that kind of helped relit my passion and like just excited me to go ahead and move on to OB. So I wasn't able to practice as a doula because I was working as a nurse. I couldn't commit to like definitely being there for my patients where I want to, but I did get the training.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question is, How did you make the decision about where to apply to midwifery school? I think that's such a big question as like people are beginning to think about their midwifery journey, like where to apply and like and yeah, and why.
So I the only local school that had midwifery was here in Cal State Fullerton. And so it was easier for me to, want to choose that one. They did have online options like Frontier, and I think there's another one. But I remember I had some coworkers who were doing the online program, and they were having difficulty trying to get their clinical sites. Very difficult. And I remember hearing that Cal State Fullerton in the the LA area, or even San Bernardino, Riverside area, we all had Cal State Fullerton students had priority at the hospitals as opposed to the online students. And so that's another main reason that I wanted to choose Cal State Fullerton. Besides, I wanted to be in person, at that time when there was in person. And yeah, and so that's why, I chose Cal State Fullerton.
Okay. And Nicole, what about you? How did you make the decision about where to apply to midwifery school? And then why did you end up choosing UCSF?
So I was actually already accepted into the dual degree program at the University of Pennsylvania. And when I guess just like over time doing work in therapy, et cetera, I started to realize that graduate school needed to be more of a partnership. It needed to be a place that really like supported my passions and the reasons why I wanted to go in to do this important work. And the school I was at just unfortunately wasn't as supportive of an environment as I imagined. So I narrowed down my choices based off of what programs they had offered. I definitely wanted a dual degree program because if I can get a BOGO, like a buy one, get one on a degree, I'm going to get it. So that was great. And then I also narrowed it down based off of where I wanted to live. I'm from St. Louis, but there are no midwifery, like in-person midwifery schools or options in the entire state. So it was an option for me to stay local in Missouri. And I just imagined, like, do I really want to live in Utah? I didn't want to live in Utah, so I'm not going to apply to go to Utah. No shade to people that love Utah. It just wasn't for me. And so that narrowed it down even more. I wanted to go to a place that was accredited by the ACNM. That was important for me too. So I looked at accreditation boards. And then essentially UCSF became my number one choice because they're very passionate about underserved communities. And it's not just in words, but it's in mandatory courses we have to take. It's in the work of the research that's being done at the school. I see it like reflected in the alumni. I see it happening with my professors. My classmates are very passionate and they all are about serving underserved populations, underserved communities. And I'm here for all the Black folks. And so is UCSF. So that's why I decided UCSF was the one.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Nicole. And then I see that one of you said that you didn't need to have a California RN license to apply.
That was me.
That was you. Can you speak a little more to that?
It's UC Fullerton. So I got into Penn, I got into Vanderbilt, I got into University of Michigan, I got into Case Western and UCSF, and I was going to apply to Fullerton, but I called them and they said that it was like, they're not even going to look or consider my application if I don't have a California nursing license. And at the time, the license process, I think, was like $300 or $400, which is like wild. So I wanted to see if I got into the school before I make this investment that was going to take months. And so they said that they won't even consider like opening my application. They won't even look at my application. So that was part of the reason why I didn't even apply to Fullerton.
Understood. Okay. That's a helpful tool, little nugget. Thank you. Okay. So community birth, so birth that takes place outside of the hospital. What does it look like if you at your schools, like if you want to do, if you want to be a midwife in the community, meaning like outside, if you want to attend birth outside of the hospital?
Well, we actually just went to on a field trip. And it was to a birth center in around Inglewood, and it was such a beautiful experience. It was such a beautiful, I was very nervous it's like I kind of wanted to be open-minded about it, maybe learn how to do birth center and maybe a home birth, but still very nervous because you feel safer in the hospital. And taking that field trip to the birth center, and I'm totally going blank on the name of the birth center. And if Dr. Sajobi, if you can tell me if you're listening. Yeah, it was
Kindred Space,
Kindred Space,
Los Angeles.
Yes. It was so beautiful the way they had it set up. The rooms were beautiful. It was so homely and comfortable. And the women there were just fantastic and very welcoming. It was a very beautiful experience. And it was kind of hidden too, so people didn't really know what it was when you got there. But when you went in, it was like, wow, so impressed. I had an outside, area, 2 different rooms. They're starting to upgrade everything. And again, the care that these women provide was just very, very beautiful. And then they're associated with Martin Luther King Hospital. So of course, if they needed some extra care, they were able to go over to that hospital for care. And so field trips are important because it really lowered my anxiety, because I was very anxious about, doing that, and just going to that field trip made me feel more comfortable in possibly wanting to participate in something like that.
Nicole, do you have anything you want to share? I mean, the two of you are at 2 different points in your midwifery education, so you might not be able to speak to that yet, Nicole.
I am studying for a multitude of exams. I have been in school for 8 weeks and I am doing my best. No, I'm sure there'll be opportunities for it. And I'm really grateful for programs like this, because you're able to network with BIPOC community birth workers. And I'm sure that there could be opportunities in the future. I'm like hopeful that there will be opportunities in the future. But in terms of like being in school, this particular first quarter is strictly didactic. So it's just strictly lecture based. So clinicals or field trips haven't even come up. And I'm at peace with that, because I have a lot on my plate right now.
I'm sure. And so the next question is, how do you navigate? And it comes back to the first question. How do you navigate this when you are part of a program that doesn't allow for out of hospital educational experiences?
So, I mean, I had asked to see, if maybe there's a possibility of doing something like that. And it could be that maybe when, while you're doing your regular clinicals at the hospital, because that's what's mandated and that's what you need to do to, complete your graduation. Also have an extra, additional hours to be able to try to participate in a birthing center. And maybe catch a couple babies, maybe 1 or 2, and just go through that whole experience, but as in addition to your regular hours that you need to provide.
Wonderful.
Maybe they can just place you there for a semester.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about a very real and hard part of midwifery school, which is finding balance and how to finance this, right? So Nicole, tell me a little bit about how you are financing your education and what that looks like for you.
So, I'm very transparent, and I think it'll be most helpful to be as honest as possible. So they factored in for the cost of the first year, $75K, with me being an out-of-state resident, to go to UCSF. So I want to say if you're in state, subtract like 14 or 15K off of the total cost. From there, I was able to find like a room to rent in someone's home. And so that really took off a lot in terms of like housing, because St. Louis is a glorious place where I had 1,000 square foot apartment, 2 bedrooms, washer, dryer, all that for $750, and it stayed $750 a month for 5 years. I know.
Wow.
So I come here and I'm like, oh wow, we are not in Kansas anymore, honey. But I was very fortunate to secure housing very early. And so once I factored in my housing, my cost of living, UCSF is great. They're very helpful with getting us on like food stamps. So I'm on the Cal Fresh program. I have the Medi-Cal. So I have like all these things were already working in my favor. I ended up being able to cut off like 25K of those loans. And then for this year, they've given me about half. So I have like 25, 26K in scholarships and grants from the school. And then the rest of it is coming from loans. So it's like a 50-50 split. And I think I'm spoiled because I'm used to go, like when I was at Penn, the accelerated program was like upwards of like 6 figures. So for me to think about 25K in loans, I'm like, it could be worse, but I could just retain it. It was harder for me being out of state too, because a lot of the local scholarships required you to be a California resident, which I was not. And so it really limited the opportunities for me to be competitive for those. And then a lot of the grad school scholarships want you to have a GPA, which I didn't because I was an incoming student. So the pool just really narrowed itself down. I'm fortunate though now that I'll have a GPA in about 2 weeks. So I'll be able to apply for a lot more local scholarships. And California has a wealth of resources to support birth work in ways that Missouri doesn't. So right now it's like half loans, half grants and scholarships from the school. And balancing work and education, I don't work. I just got my California license on Halloween. So I mean, technically I could have worked, but this is like the mecca for nursing in all the country. So if I'm going to work as a nurse, I'm going to do it in California. So, but as of now, I'm not working. They might change in the future, but that's pretty much how I'm funding it.
Okay. Evelyn, tell us a little bit about how you are financing your education and like your work education balance.
So I was working full-time up until May, because our program is, I'm doing the part-time program. So the first it's a 3-year program. The first 2 years is working part-time, and then the third year, the senior year, is working full-time. So I was able to manage working with a family and kids, husband and all that, working full-time and going to school. And it was about 8 credits or so, or 8 minutes. Sorry, my dog. Ava. And so then after that, starting this semester was the full-time program. And I was not going to be able to continue working full-time. And so I completely quit my job, but I did have savings because, you know, as nurses, we make a decent amount of money. And so I was able to actually pay for my, every semester, I paid about $4,000-ish a month every semester for my, for schooling. And I decided, well, my husband and I decided to just pay it off because I still have some loans from my nursing degree. And so I was like, I didn't want to add more loans if I didn't have to. And we were financially able to do that. So we paid for ours. And then this semester, now that I'm not working anymore, business isn't the greatest right now with my husband. And so we decided to take out a loan for this year and for this semester, next semester. But that's what you have to do sometimes, you know, and that's okay. There are a lot of scholarships offered by the school, and they're very helpful. They're always sending us scholarships to apply for. So it's really, really great. And then of course there's the FAFSA.
How was that balance of like going to school and working full time?
It was hard, but it's doable. But full time is a little harder. It really is a little bit harder because you got the kids, you know, you got the family, and they all want your attention. But I feel like, I swear, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I'm older too, so it's harder on us older women, you know, and I'm 41 years old and I'm going back to school, and it is harder, but I swear, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I got faith in all you guys.
All right, thank you. Tell us about your support system during school. I mean, we talk about midwifery school is hard, right? And especially when you're like changing careers. What was your support system like?
So family was very, very helpful. My parents, my husband, my oldest daughter, they all helped me through that to take care of my little one, especially because my little one was, you know, smaller. And just having that family support is very, very important. Classmates to help each other, give each other encouragement, spiritual guidance. Oh, it was a lot of praying, lots and lots of praying, and lots of, just crying out to God for, please help me through this. But we're going through it. It's happening. We're doing it, and then this program that we're in right now, this the MMB program has been really great. Marina, she's here. She's my mentee and she's fantastic. I love her. And she's been very supportive and very, she's just been so wonderful. She's been giving me tips and pointers, and she's been involving me in these new opportunity to be involved in the Latina community of midwifery. And it's just been so great to be a part of that. But you definitely need some support.
Yeah. And Nicole, I've heard you say this a few times, like you're 8 weeks in. Tell us about your support system right now.
So I don't have family in the San Francisco area. I have like a cousin, but she lives like close to San Diego. So I'm not very well versed in California, but I've been receiving a lot of support from my classmates, especially from classmates who also have like uprooted their lives to move for this program. I love the Lord. I speak to the Lord daily. We pray constantly. So I never really feel alone because of the Lord. And I'm going to meet with a therapist at 3 p.m. for a first session today. So that is also a sign of support as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And then in regards to support, can either of you tell us a little bit about, did you have any support in applying to midwifery school?
So I am fortunate because my little brother actually works for like diversity and inclusion at Harvard's Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. He just started working there like in October of last year. And part of what he does is review applications for a living. So he bled into my essays to the point where I didn't even know if I wrote my name correctly, but he was super nitpicky and very helpful with just making sure that I was staying on task and answering the questions that they're asking of me in the prompts, instead of just giving whatever life story I felt like was relevant. And then we also did one practice Zoom with each other. In terms of like researching for the programs and getting everything else done, that was only me. But shout out to Xavier. You'd never see this, but go Xavier. My little brother.
What a special person to have in your life.
Yes.
And Evelyn, I think I saw you shake your head no, that you did not have any help with your application. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just did it on my own. I guess I had just finished nursing school, and so it was still fresh on my mind on how to apply. So I just handled it.
Yeah. All right.
I was like 5 years out the game when I graduated, so I don't remember anything. He was helpful.
Okay, so we are moving on to our last couple of questions before we move into opening the floor up for everyone. We're going to talk a little bit about what it looks like, the life as a midwifery student. So can you, Evelyn, tell us a little bit about your classes, schedule, and clinicals right now?
So right now, we're taking a lot of, we just finished doing I'm just going to focus on like the main classes. Like we did primary care last semester. And this semester we're doing, the antepartum, intrapartum management, clinicals. I've been doing, we have class 1 day a week, and fortunately it's always been on a Thursday. So it's very scheduled. It's just, we know it's, classes on Thursdays. And then our clinicals are, right now I'm pretty much doing 2 days a week of clinicals. I'll go to the actual clinic, to the OB-GYN clinic, and we have patient care there. And then I have 1 day a week of labor and delivery, either day or night, however it is, 12-hour shift, just like, if you're working with the midwife, the same thing. And so it's manageable, of course, since I'm not working, but there's a lot of classmates that are working. And so they're doing it. They're doing it. It's stressful, but they're doing it. But it's been a great opportunity. I actually was telling Nicole that this semester is the semester that I actually feel that this is where I belong. Like my first day of clinicals in the OB clinic, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I want to do. I was so happy that day. I was like, this is exactly what I want, exactly what I feel like I need to be able to provide care to my patients and Spanish community that needs more. We need more Spanish Latina midwives to be able to communicate better to them. And I was able to do that. And it was just so wonderful.
How powerful. To find, to be in the place and you're like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be.
It was so profound at that moment. I was so happy. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Nicole, tell us a little bit about right now, your classes, your schedule, and clinicals.
So right now, this first semester is strictly didactic, so we don't have any clinicals, which I'm at peace with in my heart. Our program is strictly full-time. I don't know if I mentioned that at any point, but it's like go. So this first quarter, I'm taking 7 classes. The main core midwifery courses are an antepartum management course, as well as a sexual reproductive health course. It's been a good balance. Some of it is like taking me back to nursing school. Like I haven't percussed an abdomen in a long time. So finding a liver's edge, didn't know I'll be revisiting these skills, but I'm grateful that we're going through this together. But also like we have in one of our live classes, we had health educators, and I was able to like through the work of volunteers, like see a cervix on the speculum for the first time in a way that didn't pain my patient. And it was like emotional. I was crying with my other classmate about it. So there's beautiful things that are happening, but it's pretty intense. It's 7 classes. 2 of our classes are in person. The rest of our classes are either synchronized or asynchronous, meaning you can take it when you want. I struggle with that in the beginning because I'm very much a sit in the front row with a snack, raise my hand type of girly. Like that's how I like to learn. But coming up with a schedule and going to my classes at the same time has been helpful, as well as office hours and stuff as well. And she said lots of homework, tons of homework, and never stops. So I second that.
Thank you for sharing.
You will have a moment of being able to go be above the water. That's where I am right now. I'm above the water for a minute.
Mine will happen on December 9th at the end of the
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Nicole and Evelyn, for sharing all of that. We're going to go ahead and stop the recording.